In this first video of the series, I'll be walking you through the process of building a financial model for a renewable energy project from scratch. Financial modeling is an essential skill for anyone interested in finance, and it is particularly important for those working in the renewable energy industry. In this series, I'll be sharing my experience and insights on how to build a robust financial model that accurately captures the financial performance of a renewable energy project. Today, we'll be focused on building a dynamic timeline that can be used across the model. The timeline is a critical component of the financial model, as it can be used across the model to forecast projects' revenues, expense, and cash flows over time. But before we dive into the details of how to build it, I just want to share with you that I decided to change the name of this channel from Never X Ever to Bank Run. I believe this is a new banner that reflects the moment where we are in. So I hope you enjoy the new branding. So, if you're interested in learning how to build financial model, stay tuned for the series, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. So, let's gonna get started. So, what is a timeline? In financial modeling, timeline is a critical component that outlines basically the expected time of future cash flows and outflows associated with a project. Okay, it is essentially a schedule that outlines the periods for which cash flows are going to come in and come out. Okay, and as you can see here, we are dividing our cash flows or our timeline in two distinct phases. Okay, so that's basically what a timeline is. So as you will see also during the series, we're going to use the timeline or the infrastructure for the timeline across different sheets of our project. Okay, so let's going to start building this timeline from scratch, and as we go along in the videos, you will learn better the importance of a very robust and dynamic timeline. So let's go. I'm going to go here to the new sheet. Okay, and what are we going to have in here? Just 1 second. So basically, I'm going to start first by just reducing the size or the width of these columns here. And you're going to see why I'm going to do this later. But basically, the first 3 columns are going to work as the sections of our financial modeling. And I'm going to write here timeline. Okay, so that's it. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Let's put here 16. Okay. So that's what we have in here. I'm gonna increase the size of column D to, let's finish it here. So column D will basically host all the naming and the functions of the rows. Okay, so if we have here revenue, so we're gonna just write revenue in here, and then so revenue, and then I'm just gonna calculate the revenues in the rows. Okay, so that's basically the naming of our rows. So what we're gonna have here, I'm gonna have the construction and operation phase. Okay, so that's the 2 phases of our project, but you can also have more phases if you want a more detailed and granular model. You can also add the development phase, okay, where you can basically calculate all your development costs. And if you want to be really detailed about your project, your project or financial model, you can also have the commissioning phase. But I think we can start with the construction operational phase. And once we have it, basically what we have to do now, we have to input in the model the start and end dates of each one of these 2 phases. Okay, so we're going to have an end and a start and end date, and now we're going to just input the dates in here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to say that the construction phase is going to start 1st of January 2023, and it will finish in the last day of the year. So it's going to take 1 year. Okay, so it's going to finish on 31st of December 2023. Okay, then we're going to say that the operation is going to start the day after. Okay, so I'm going to say equals to this plus 1. Okay, and our operation is gonna last for 30 years. Okay, so we can calculate it. So it's gonna be equals to what? End of the month. Okay, so it's gonna be start date comma, the number of the number of months. So we're gonna have 30 years times 12. I have to subtract 1 here, just because whenever you use the end of the month formula, the first month is already accounted for under the start date, okay? So if I press enter here, you will see that we have exactly 30 years from 2024, 1st of January 2024, so we already account for the 24, for year 24, up to the end of year 53, okay? So this is our start and end dates, okay? We're gonna leave these dates as it is now, but we're gonna fix how we calculate it later, okay? So there's a few things we can tweak here later on, okay, to have a more concise and use best practice in financial modeling, okay? But we're gonna touch on this later on. So now that we have calculated our dates, basically we have now to lay out the dates into different periods in here, okay? So to me, a period is represented in a column, okay? So each column has a different period and has a start. So we have a start of period, and then we have an end of period. So essentially what it is, we represent a time frame in here in which cash flows can be calculated, okay? And the question is now, what is the length of our period? And here we can choose among a few options, okay? We can go for a monthly period, quarterly, semi-annually, or annual period, okay? And the choice is going to really depend on how big your project is, how granular you want to be, and most important, in my opinion, is which type of project are you dealing with, okay? So if you're dealing with a nuclear project where you basically have base load generation throughout the year, so then you can use yearly periods, okay? Because our generation is going to be the same for every single month, for every single day, and there's basically no reason for you to use a more granular period, okay? However, if you're going to have a solar or a PV project or a hydro project, then I would go for a quarterly period, okay? Just because you want to capture the variation in the generation, okay? So if you have a hydro project, most likely you're going to have a different hydrology, which will change the generation profile for each one of the seasons, and the same for solar PV projects, okay? So it really depends. You have to make an analysis and discuss with your technical advisor to really understand what is the best way to divide each one of the periods, okay? So we're going to assume for this project that we're doing a photovoltaic project, okay? So we're going to go for a 3 months or 1 quarter period, okay? So how do we do this? So basically we're going to say here, we're going to say that this is going to be our first date, okay? Okay, so this is our starting date. This is going to be our start date. Equals, and now we have to add here 3 more months, okay? So how do we do it? So we're going to say equals to end of month, okay? Then we're going to have our starting date, which is this one here, times 3 months, but we have to subtract 1, right? And then we can close parentheses. And as you notice here, I'm going to leave for now these hard-coded numbers in here, and I'm going to deliberately leave the 3 minus 1. And why I'm going to do it? It is because in financial model, you should never, ever have a hard-coded number into a formula, okay? Never, ever, with the exceptions of zeros and 1, okay? And I'm going to see later why you should leave zeros and 1, okay? But the first rule of financial model to use really best practice is never ever do hard code numbers into cells, okay? Into formulas, okay? So the best way to fix it, okay? I'm gonna leave here for now. I'm gonna just work here quarter, okay? A quarter, and a quarter has 3 months, okay? So what you should do in this particular case here is just to change this number here by this cell reference in here, okay? And you have just to anchor it properly because we're going to always mention this this cell here. So we have to always reference our formula to this cell. So we're going to press F4 just to anchor it properly, okay? So that's the correct way to do it. And the -1 here we can leave for now because we should know that the end of the month formula already accounts for the first month of the start date. So we have to subtract 1, okay? So that's the way to do it. So let's go to the next period. Okay, so what's going to be the next, or the date of the start of the period for the next period? It's going to be equals to the date of the end of the previous period plus 1. Okay, so here you can see again that we are hard encoded plus 1 here, so that's okay. And then here just have to copy and paste the formula across, and we have again the second period. And if you keep copy and paste this across, you will see that we have already done our timeline. So we have here that every single start date of the period is the first month of the quarter, okay, the first day of the quarter, and we finish off here with the last day of the quarter. So this is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q3, and Q4, and so forth and so on. So now what we need to do, we need to finish our timeline in year 53, but because we may change the number of years of your operation, okay, so I'm gonna go beyond year 53, okay? Let's go up to year, let's say 60 or 70. So let me just copy it here and go across. So I'm just holding shift right, okay? Let's go to, let's see where we are now. So we are on year 54, so let's go a bit more. I'm gonna copy and paste this, okay? Let's see where we are now. I just wanna go to 61. Okay, so let's gonna finish on year 60. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so there we go. Cool. And you notice here that I already hid the columns to the right, okay? So that's something you should always do, okay? So let me just unhide it, just a second. So, yes. So it's always best practice to hide the columns that you don't use, okay? And then leave just the last one in blank. And why is that? So this is again a good practice, okay? And the reason why you're gonna do it is because you will always gonna copy things across. So it's much faster for you just to go to hold shift control right, and you go directly to the end of the model. So don't go to the very last cell, which is hundreds of columns to the right, okay? So that's why you should always hide your columns, so that whenever you press Ctrl left and Ctrl right, okay, you can always come to the end of the model. And this is gonna give a signal to the user that there's nothing after this column, okay? So that's the most important thing. So let's go back to the beginning of the model, okay? And what we have here, we have our timelines in place. We have the start and the end of each one of the phase. And what we need to do next is to flag, okay, where we are, which period or which phase each period is, okay? So what is important in financial models is to have an understanding of when we are working. For example, if we're working on these dates here, eventually you want to know like in which phase are you here, okay? So you want to use the concept of flags, okay? So flags is nothing more than letting the user know whether some condition is true or false, okay? And what we're going to do here, we're going to say whether each one of the periods are in the construction phase or in the operation phase. And if it's the construction phase, it's going to return a true. And if it's in the let's say if it's in the operational phase, so it's going to return true here and then false here, okay? So basically for this particular period here or phase, we're going to have true, 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 and from here beyond is going to be false, okay? So, and we're going to do this through formulas, of course, because we need to have a dynamic model, so that if I change the length of the construction, let's say we put 2024 here, okay, so then of course this flag here should dynamically change to true, okay? So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to press Ctrl Z here, Ctrl Z to return to 2023, and let's going to calculate it now. So how do we do it? We're going to do it by using if and end statement. So it's going to say equals if, and we're going to have an end here, and you'll see why, because we need to check two conditions. Okay, so what are the conditions? So these dates here should be greater than or equal to this one here, okay, and this date here should be less and equals to this date here. Okay, so I'm going to close the end parenthesis. If so, it's going to return true, otherwise it's going to return false. Okay, so that's what it is. I'm going to close here and enter. As you can see here, this condition is true, and if I copy this formula across here, you can see that this is not correct. Okay, so, and why is that? The main reason, or the only reason, is because we didn't anchor the cells properly. Okay, and that comes another very important thing in financial modeling. Always anchor reference to cells and formula properly. Okay, and I have a very good tip for you that we will never ever make any mistakes. Okay, so whenever you reference cells above, okay, so as a J2 and J3, you should press F4 2 times, okay, so that it will anchor only the row, okay. And whenever we have reference in formulas to cells to the right, to the left, you press F4 3 times, okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I did something wrong here. Let me just fix it. So I'm gonna clean. So here's 1, 2, 3, and here's 1, 2. Okay. So I think it's correct now. And if I copy and paste across, you will see that everything's correct, and the transition from the construction to the operation phase happens in the right columns. Okay. And now what's really nice now, if I copy this and paste this below here, everything's going to be correct because we referenced and anchored the cells correctly in the formula. Okay. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to select here, and now we're going to understand why it's important to hide your columns to the end, because I'm going to copy, Control C, I'm going to say Shift, Control Right, see, Shift Left, Enter. So as you can see, you can copy and paste things across very quickly, okay, when you have only one column after the last calculation in your timeline. Okay, so basically here we have our timeline ready. What we're going to do now, we're going to start styling and formatting numbers and text in your financial model. Okay, as you can see here, it's quite hard to read. Okay, it gets the financial model can get very easily polluted with lots of information. Okay, so financial model should always have good formatting and styling yourself so that you can visually and very fast understand what's going on in the model. Okay, so let's go to start by first formatting the text. Okay, more specifically in this case, I'm going to format the dates. Okay, and why I'm going to do it? For a very specific reason. Okay, let's get these 2 dates in here. Okay, so depending on where you are, you're not sure whether these dates here is 1st of April or January 4th. Okay, and you don't want to spend time to understand whether you're dealing with one or the other format of dates. Okay, so and in order to deal with this, we can change the format of the dates to be as I'm going to show you. So instead of being 01/01/2023, you can have 01 January 23. Okay, so this is a much more clear and concise way for the user to really understand which date it is. Okay, and how you can format it. Okay, so I'm going to say Control 1. So I'm going to open up the format cells. I'm going to click on custom, and then I'm going to select this format here. See where we have 2 digits day, 3 digits month, and 2 digits year. I'm going to press OK. So now we have the right formatting, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to Control C, and I'm going to press Select, Alt ES. I'm going to press T and Enter, and I'm going to format everything across. I'm going to just press Alt OCA just to increase the width of the columns. So we have this in here, and I'm going to also do the same thing here. So I'm going to Shift Control Right, Alt EST, Enter, and Alt OAC. Okay, there we go. So we have everything ready here. Okay, so you can see now it's much easier and clear what date we are dealing with. Okay, so this is the first thing. Another thing I'm gonna do, you will see here we have a, where is it? We have a style, here we go. So we have a style box in here. Okay, so we can save this style in here so it can be more easily accessible to us. Okay, so let me see how to do it in here. So I'm going to create a new cell style. Okay, so I'm just going to delete everything here because I'm only interested in styling the number, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to put a hashtag and date. Okay, and I'm going to save. Okay, so now whenever I want to style a date, let's say we have 1/1/23 here. Okay, and I want to style this, I can go just here, click, and it's going to style it to me. And you also see that in my Excel I have added this cell style up here. Okay, in what's called the quick access toolbar. Okay, so if I press Alt and number 2, I can quickly access this cell style. Okay, so let's say, let me go back here again, 1st of January 23, and if I press, I'm going to select Alt 2, and then I can quickly come here to formatting my style. Okay, so that's the first thing, and we have formatted all the cells. Okay, next, what we're going to do, we're going to format, we're going to give some background colors to these. Okay, because again, it's much easier to visualize whether we are in the construction phase, the operation phase, if we put some colors. Let's say we can say that if we are into the construction phase, we can have a yellow, okay, or we can have yellows in here, okay, and whenever it's false, it can be basically nothing. So I'm going to do a bit differently. Okay, so you notice here that I have chosen theme colors. Okay, and I also recommend you choose some theme colors. You can use the colors of your company or whatever, and the easier way to do it is just to come over here, type theme, and then you can choose any theme color you want. Okay, for this model I'm using the blue-green. Okay, so that's the one I'm using. So when you click there, you can see that's going to be the colors in your palette in here. Okay, and I'm going to just use some conditioning formatting here. So I'm going to select everything, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to conditioning formatting. Let's say manage rules. I'm going to add a new rule. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say if the cell value equals to true, then what? I'm going to just put some formatting. And it's very important now to have 2 colors, one for true and one for false, that are very different between the two, so you can easily see what's going on. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to put a dark text. I'm going to also have a dark border. Yes, there we go. And then I'm going to have a light fill with a bit darker partner. Let me see, like this. Let's see how that gets. Let's apply. Okay, it looks pretty nice. I'm gonna duplicate this one here, and I'm gonna change this to false now. False. Okay, so this is gonna be false. Oh, sorry, I have to change the colors. So let's go here, and for this one here, we're gonna use the gray. So there's a good contrast between one and the other. I'm gonna have here this one here. For borders, we're gonna change for this press, and for the font the same. So I'm gonna just come here and put the green one. Okay, okay, and apply. Okay, cool. So now, as you can see, it's much easier for us to understand where we are in each one of the periods. Okay, so it's clear to us that this is the operations phase, and this is and these here are the construction phase. Okay, so it gets much cleaner, and you can quickly access where you are in the financial model. Okay, so let's say if you are halfway through in your model, okay, so just press Alt page up, so it scrolls to the right one screen, and if I press Alt page down, it scrolls one screen to the left. So you can see here pretty quickly that we are dealing with the construction phase. Okay, but there's one more thing to do, because now we're no longer able to see what's to the left of the to the model, right? So it's very important also, and always do it. Okay, so now, again, a best practice to freeze the pane. Okay, and where to freeze the pane? you're going to freeze the pane exactly one row below your first period, okay, and just after your operation flag, or your flags, okay. And how to freeze the pane, you can press Alt WFF, okay, or just come here and choose freeze pane. Okay, so we're gonna freeze your pane, and now if you press Alt page down to the right, you can see you can still keep looking at which phase you are dealing with, and you're gonna see exactly which what the rows is calculating, okay, and you can see your timeline. And the calculations are going to be here in the center pane. So it's very convenient, and you should always do it. Okay, so let's going to press Control Home now to come back. So we're going to come back to where you froze the pane. Okay, and that's basically it for the timeline. So there's one more thing I want to do. Okay, I just want to make this reference here a bit more clear. Okay, and I want to do it by giving some background color here, because this is not information to supply to the model. Is that an information to tell to the user that this date here is the start date? So it's the start date of the construction phase. Okay, so it's the start date of the construction phase. This one here is the end date of the construction phase, and these are the dates for the operation. Okay, so I'm gonna just select in here. Let's do some background color in here. So we're gonna say this is going to be, let's say, can be, let's try this one here, or this one here with the white color, and I'm gonna center, and I'm gonna also give some border. Okay, I'm gonna put outside border. Yeah, looks good. So this is gonna be our background. Okay, background color. So I'm also add this to the style. So I'm gonna say here style, new style, and notice here that all the things we need are already saved in here. Okay, so we don't need this to be a number. We want the alignment, we want the font, we want the border, and we want the fill. We don't need the protection. Okay, and I'm gonna call this just background. Okay, so let me just give it background. Okay, there we go. So now we have the background here, and I'm gonna also, I can also select this by coming here, or pressing Alt 2 and coming here. Okay, or because this was the last command I used, sorry, let me just press here. I can also press F4, that will also repeat the last command. Okay, so this is it. And for now, I'm gonna just hard code here, and I'm gonna add the all borders. Okay, so that's basically it for the timeline. Okay, so now we have a very dynamic and robust timeline. There's a few more things we need to change in here, but we're gonna do it later. Okay, and that basically refers to not having a hard code numbers in here. We're gonna change this later, the same way we did in here. Okay, and also I want to change this here to be a calculation. Okay, not a hard code. Okay, so these are things we're gonna do in the next video. So I hope you have enjoyed this first video. Please, if you have any questions, just drop me an email, or just post some comments below. And if you want to download the video, please, below.